Your AI sidekick has arrived. That's right. Turn off the bat signal because Blaze is here to save the day. Blaze is an AI sidekick for overwhelmed teams of one just like you. Brainstorm and outline content ideas with AI. Go from idea to on brand content in minutes. Turn a blog post into 10 plus asset types, ads, social posts, emails, and more. Collaborate with colleagues in real time and get content approved. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Navigate to Blaze and download today. On this week's episode of A Win is a Win, we are going all in. Why? It is playoff time. That's right. We are diving deep into who's got the juice, plain and simple. This is an episode you don't want to miss. Let's go.
It's time for the Rookie Rundown.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. That's right. Hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. You got what you wanted. If you didn't, maybe next year. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast and tell someone and tell them to tell somebody else to join. A win is a win. And somewhere on your listening device, at the top, at the bottom, on the left or the right, there's a notification bell. Go ahead and tap on that so you can get your episode updates. It's almost like we could talk about CJ Stroud on a weekly basis, but he's been one of the best rookies all season. That's right. The young quarterback was playing in a must-win matchup against the Colts, and he certainly delivered. Not only did he take his Houston Texans into the postseason, but he threw for, hold on, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns without an interception. And he did so without Dell due to injury on a couple of weeks that he acquired a couple of weeks ago. Now, let's get into Atlanta Falcons running back Bijan Robinson, who I have mentioned quite a few times. Robinson didn't get much done on the ground, taking 11 carries for 28 total rushing yards. However, he got a lot of action through the air, including a 71-yard receiving touchdown. Now, Robinson totaled his receiving night with 7 receptions for 103 yards, and the aforementioned touchdown. Is almost ironic that Bijan had a ton of touches finally in the last game of the season. Finally, let's talk about those Packers wideout, Dontayvion Wicks. Wicks has been a hidden gem in the Packers offense that hasn't gotten many targets due to being buried in a talented depth chart. Now, wait. Wicks saw an opening and he took it against the Bears in the finale. Now, I've said when watching that particular game, that young man is a star and they need to play him more often. Not to mention this early on in the season too. Watch out for Wicks. Go back a couple episodes. Now, Wicks had 6 receptions for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win to help them get into the postseason. And yes, they did it without the ayahuasca infused Aaron Rodgers. Coming up next, we are going to get deep into all the NFL news surrounding the playoffs. And congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines and Harbaugh. You guys had a great season, a great run, and we shall see exactly where Harbaugh goes. Does he stay or does he go to the NFL? That's going to wrap up Rookie Rundown. We'll be right back.
Let's get into the sports news.
The absolute biggest news of the week was that the New England Patriots and head coach Bill Belichick are quote unquote parting ways. Whether you take that to mean I quit, I resigned, or you take it to mean he got fired. Regardless, he's no longer the head coach. Now, it felt like the only way that Bill Belichick would leave the Patriots organization would be if he decided to retire from football altogether. Instead, Belichick will be mutually leaving the franchise so that he could get another coaching position with a different team. Now, where he decides to take his talents is still unknown, but everybody that's currently looking for a new head coach will be begging for him to join. Now, in my opinion, I think that they should look internally. They do have very good options within the organization. However, I believe by the time this podcast airs, by the time Black Monday comes, there will be other coaches that will be fired, plain and simple, and they may have some other options. If I had my pick, I would look at Vrabel maybe going to the Patriots, but you never know. It's a league that doesn't owe anybody anything, so anything could happen. Interesting to see what will happen there. That wasn't the only news around the league, with Seattle Seahawks also reporting that they've parted ways with head coach Pete Carroll. Now, Carroll, let me just stop there. That one was a shock to me. And looking at the headlines, it definitely was a shock to Pete Carroll. Now, Carroll made it clear that he fought to remain as the head coach of the franchise, yet upper management decided that they were going in a different direction. And a lot of times I think, just in my experience with working in the NFL, that, let's say, upper management, quote unquote, or GMs and owners, they can't turn off the noise, the fan noise, the media noise, and make sound decisions. However, in order not to be disrespectful, the team offered an advisory role to Carroll so that he could still be around the team on a day-to-day basis. It's similar to what the Tampa Bay Bucks did with Bruce Arians. Now, there's also a situation brewing down in Kansas City when the team faces off with the Miami Dolphins. Now, the wild card matchup will be taking place in Kansas City and has the potential to be at negative 10 degrees or negative 35, and you can thank the wind chill for that. For the Dolphins team that rarely ever plays in colder temperatures, this could be a cause for concern. Now, Tua has since said that he won't be playing with gloves or isotoners, but is going to be a challenge adapting nevertheless. Listen, at this point, I get it. Football is outdoors. I grew up 70s, 80s watching football on the gridiron that was like a sheet of ice, grass blades that will probably cut you from cold, frigid Cleveland weather. And we can go to many different areas: Buffalo, Chicago, Detroit, you name it. However, and I say this cautiously, is it still in 2024, with advancements in what we can do with domes, open or closed, fair to have teams at a disadvantage because of demographics? Let's think about that for a minute. I live in Phoenix and it's hot 3, 4 months out of the year. Okay. You go out to State Farm Stadium, you go over to Chase Field, domes are open, nice days. bad days is closed where you can still enjoy a solid game. I think it's time for NFL Players Association to look at a potential change in the future. Now, another head coaching change that has happened this past weekend, which is the Tennessee Titans parting ways of Mike Vrabel. Now, if you go back to what I just said, I believe that he will be a good fit in New England. However, that hasn't been decided. Vrabel didn't seem like he wanted to go anywhere, and the Titans were consistently competitive thanks to him, despite a severe, lack of overall talent. Apparently, some rumors have stated that the team's ownership didn't like how Vrabel handled getting inducted into the Patriots Ring of Honor and how he sidestepped a few questions about being their next head coach after Belichick. Either way, Vrabel will get another job very quickly. I am very sure. And I do believe that that sat in the mind of the owner. She's very emotional. And when that was said, I don't necessarily think that Vrabel sidestepped, okay, a few questions. I think he was put on the spot. He did the best that he could to answer it given the situation. And that's what happened. Other than that, I don't think that he intentionally sidestepped to throw shade at the current organization where he's employed. I don't think that was the case. Nonetheless, there is going to be a serious shakeup. I'm going to predict this coming Black Monday will be one of, if not the longest lists of coaching switch ups, terminations, changes, trades, you name it. The list of coaches that have already been and will be fired, very long. Let's watch and see. Injury report up next.
Who's hurt? Who's ready to go? Time for the injury report.
As of right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are fully intending to get their wide receiver Devontae Smith back into action after missing a game. His ankle injury limited him as of late, though he's been a full participant in practice down the stretch of the week and should be good to go against the Tampa Bay Bucks in the wild card round. I believe that game is Monday. Now, another injury that's worth monitoring is Denzel Ward, the cornerback of, yes, my Cleveland Browns. Now, he was fully expected to suit up against the Texans in the wild card, but apparently he suffered a new injury during practice, which has seriously put his on field as questionable in that game. So keep an eye on Denzel Ward. Very, very, very key to that Cleveland team. Now, this team has played without Ward for a few weeks this year. They would prefer to have him in the lineup at the end of the day, though. I'm pretty sure that it won't feel the same as it hasn't been without him. Can Joe Flacco do it? Yes or no? Either way, I'll say this as a Cleveland fan. To go through 4 starters, end up with Flacco, who they called, probably was at home with his kids, wife, eating some warm chicken noodle soup, to suit up and get the Browns as far as he has is remarkable. Win or lose, I'm a diehard Cleveland fan. And from a Flacco standpoint, I'm playing with house money. So, yes, I'm going to do all I can, obviously, to get us to the postseason and try to get us beyond the first round. But if not, I'm feeling pretty good about what I've done. And if you let me go after that, if I can't and you let me go, I'm still okay. I've made my money and maybe I'll get another phone call from somebody else. But at this point, I have house money in my pocket. I feel pretty good. Probably the most brutal blow on the injury report came from the Pittsburgh Steelers, with TJ Watt being ruled out for their playoff game against the Bills this Sunday. Now, Watt suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain in week 18 and is going to be forced out of action for at least a week to recover. Now, without Watt, the Steelers' pass rush and run defense will be tested for sure. Now, I've been watching the news and there is huge storm possibly this weekend in Buffalo. Now, this is going to boomerang back to what we were just talking about regarding the weather. Buffalo has some ferociously bad winters. I mean, you get an Alberta clipper that comes over from Canada and just obliterates the city. And then we know what happened a few years ago in Buffalo with people dying in the snow in their cars. I wouldn't be too terribly surprised if that game is postponed. Looking at the weather conditions that are potentially going to hit Sunday, there is no way that fans can safely get to and get from, teams getting to and getting from the field, the stadium. Takes me back to, it's 2024. Yes, people will say it's cold. Get it together. We know how to play. Steelers aren't unaccustomed to snow. But in those conditions, not saying that it will cancel. I mean, we know that they can play in extreme weather and extremely cold temperatures. But is it necessary? So we shall see what happens, and hopefully TJ Watt can come back from that MCL sprain. I mean, I work on those, and those are quite tricky to get around. So lots of action happening on the fields and off. Injuries everywhere. The playoffs are going to be crazy. And in BetMasters, we are going to talk about some upsets that is coming up next.
It's a bet. Time for BetMasters.
Who are you rolling with for these playoffs? Wild card weekend is coming up and it is going to be intense. Well, one game that I will roll with betting on, the Chiefs against the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins are going to be playing in frigid weather, as we know, for what might be the first time this season, and are going into this without a variety of key players. The list of injuries for the Dolphins, super long. No Phillips, no Chubb, no Howard on the defensive side of the ball. Not to mention the other guys that are playing hobbled with other injuries. This is a bad matchup for many reasons. So, the Chiefs have enough playoff experience to pull this out. I am going with the Chiefs to cover the spread and on the money line all day. Another game I would bet on is the Bills beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Buffalo is simply the better team overall, and the Steelers are likely to get gashed defensively without Watt available. Without him, Allen and company will get nice lanes in the run game while having extra time to pass the ball. Now, Mason Rudolph and the Steelers' offense has improved tremendously lately, but they can't win a shootout with Buffalo. Now, some people might say, well, Josh Allen is 0-2 on Mondays. The Steelers are a lot better than that. They win every Monday game. All right, I hear you. But this is playoff football. This is not regular season game. There's a different mentality that needs to go into this game. There's a different type of, you got to have that line. You got to have that dog in you. This is playoff football. So the brain doesn't function the same. Adrenaline is high. Contracts are on the line. Fans are in the stands. GMs are on the field. Different part of the brain. I'm taking the Bills to cover the spread, and I'm going to take the under on this game. Finally, I would like to say this. And I'm going to preface it with this right here. If you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, that's fine. Please, please be careful in the comments because Dallas fans are crazy. I'm going to say this loosely, that Dallas should. Why should they beat the Packers? Well, over 2 seasons, you're 16-0. You do not allow people to come in your house and win. You haven't allowed it. You do not play well on the road. Home field advantage works in your favor. CeeDee Lamb, phenomenal the last few games. He's showing I'm the best wide receiver in this game they call national football. All right. Dak Prescott has improved tremendously and has played at an MVP level. I get it. But 28 years. I don't have to say anything. That's why I was quiet. More so, Dak Prescott does not play well in postseason games. He doesn't show up. But for the reason that I'm giving is solely because of their last couple of game performances and home field advantage. You haven't allowed anybody to win in your house. The only concern is the Dallas Cowboys consistently underperform. That is my other caveat. But we all know that they are much more talented than the Packers. That being said, I'm taking the upset. Regardless of what I think they should do, I don't trust Dak in this. Micah Parsons goes missing. He hasn't allowed very many pressures. CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott need to be on the same page in this game. That's it. That's all. Because if they are not, and Micah Parsons goes missing or he's on the sideline recording his podcast or whatever he does, then the Packers will potentially jump early. And Jordan Love has key pieces. Those pieces are the youngest wide receivers in the NFL currently. The team is young. They're on fire. They have momentum. They score early. They come out the gate, down the field. He throws bricks right into his wide receivers. Boom, right in the chest. Go. He runs when needed, but he knows how to get in that pocket. He drops back in the pocket. When he throws that ball, he doesn't have feet on the ground at all. You let the Packers do that to you, their last couple of games, they come out the gate, first quarter, first drive, down the field, touchdown. If the Pack jumps out early, The Cowboys are going to have a problem because they do not play well from behind. So, lots and lots and lots of possibilities in this game. I am taking the underdog. Yes, I'm taking the dog on this. I am going to go with the Packers. They will win the game. Taking them on the spread, taking them on the money line. And I am going to take this prop that Jordan Love will have over 275 passing yards. And to finish that parlay, let's make it a 4-leg. The game will go under the 51.5 that they're giving them. Okay? We are going to dig deep into a special segment for the playoffs coming up next. Looking for some quality betting picks? Well, download the Discord app and join our group BetMasters Lounge, where you can get positive EV and arbitrage along with best bets and parlays. Download Discord now, send us an invite, and get in on the action. The wild card round is rapidly approaching, and we have a few great games that are right in front of us. We've already talked about a few of them, with the Chiefs taking on the Dolphins, the Bills against the Steelers, and the Cowboys on the Packers. However, there are a few more that will sure to completely catch your eye. Now, you have my Browns, who will take on the Houston Texans. The Rams will meet the Detroit Lions, and the Eagles will take on the Bucks. Meanwhile, both Baltimore and San Francisco are chilling. Okay? They will get a week off due to finishing in first place in their respective conferences. Now, all of the games have entertaining storylines, with Stroud getting a chance to bring a playoff win in Houston for the first time. Matthew Stafford will be returning to Detroit after playing there for so long and not making the playoffs. Jared Goff will get to meet with the Rams after they traded him for Stafford, my Lord. And the Eagles have to avoid being upset by the Bake Show Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers. Now listen, this is a football weekend that I don't think anybody wants to miss. Of course, your team, if they're in the playoffs, they're going to win or they're going to go home. And at this point, everyone's going to have to bring their A game. Philly needs to figure it out. And they need to figure out something before Monday. Because you cannot be here's what I think is going on with Philly before I continue. They're having like a Super Bowl remorse, you know. It's like a fever you get when you're sick and you feel better, but the fever just keeps lingering and lingering, and you can't perform that well. Maybe you can't get up and go to work. It's like they have a Super Bowl hangover almost. And there's something about switching up coaching during a season that never fares well, in my opinion. It just doesn't. You're in a rhythm or not with one, you switch it up, and then you have to try to learn that mid-season. Something is off with the Eagles, but if they want to prove that they are who they say they are, then they need to go out there and put in the work. On the other side of that, Baker Mayfield, who is, again, not without injuries, is trying to get back into the playoffs after their run with Brady. I'm sure that lives in their mind. Can they do it? Can we get there again? What's going on? Well, we're going to see. It's either shut up or put up or simply go home. My Cleveland Browns, everyone needs to bring their A game, because why? That Ohio State boy, that young man by the name of CJ Stroud, is not for any games. He's playing with momentum. He's playing with a purpose, and that young man has his entire locker room on his back. They are amped and they are ready to go. Cleveland, Flacco, you don't have Ward. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to go out there and we are going to put on our game face. You are the dogs for a reason. Win or lose, no one expected Stefanski to get to a playoff round, 5th seed with 4 starters. So you're going to have to travel and go to Texas. And in that particular game, of course, I'm going to take overall my Cleveland Browns to win. I mean, come on. That's a fan's pick. But if I am going to look at a pick that I know makes sense, even though Cleveland is the favorite, I believe they're giving them 2.5 points. I'm going to take the dog, and here's why. C.J. Stroud is a bomb on the field, and he has all of his key players. And when they're all on, and they're all on one accord, and they're all on the same page, and their coach Ryans is calling the plays that C.J. Stroud, even when he calls the plays, you can see that young man looking in real time and making executive decisions on the field. That's a good quarterback. Worries me a little bit, but I'm still overall taking my Browns. Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers are resting, healing. They are ready for whoever's coming. Let me tell you, I have, and if you looked at the beginning of this podcast for this NFL season, my picks for the Super Bowl were the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. And my MVP pick was Lamar Jackson. Okay, let's see if that comes into fruition. Lastly, my pick for the Lions and the Rams, I'm going with the Rams on an upset and to cover the spread. I think Stafford coming back in the building will have the momentum, the drive that he is looking for to get it done and get his team past the first round of the playoffs, possibly get them back to the Super Bowl and win another chip. I'm not sure. However, I do think that with it being 30-something years, with Detroit not getting into a playoff, they're going to play hard. The fans are going to have that stadium on fire, rocking in Detroit. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be a boat race and a shootout for that game. And I believe that the Rams will either win that game. I'm saying they're going to win. And if they do not, they will cover the spread. They are not losing by more than 3 points. Not going to happen. That's going to be a dog fight. Nonetheless, that's going to be an emotional, highly emotional game, with the way that these two quarterback stories unfold. One's coming from where they came, and one's there from where they went. It's crazy. These NFL playoffs are going to be interesting. Who's got the juice? Who doesn't? We'll find out. That's going to end it for this week's special NFL playoff episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast, and hit your bell for the necessary notifications. And we will be back with all of the playoff results.